Welcome to the Total Soccer Show Weekend Review. Man United won again and showed plenty of zeal when they steered past Fulham with Michael Carrick at the wheel. It wasn't a resounding win, but United showed some spark and a continuation of the Casemiro redemption arc. Liverpool turned on the entertainment and didn't need a PK when they scored 4, including a brace from Ekitike. Man City visited Dr. Tottenham, but they left sick after giving up a lead to a Solanke scorpion kick. Like Spurs, Chelsea also came back from 2 goals down, and Enzo pushed West Ham back towards relegation town. The London derby had plenty of drama, and João Pedro learned that you don't mess with a Dharma. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, hello the Taylor Rockwell.
Hello there, Ryan Bailey. A lovely introduction as always, and I'm glad that you've led us down this road right away. That was a scorpion kick, for sure. But the Rene Higuita one is the ultimate scorpion kick with, like, both feet involved. And I'm trying to figure out how we differentiate that type of scorpion kick from the Solanke one. Because I feel like it does need distinction.
I'll distinguish it as Rene Higuita at that game was practicing scorpion kicks for 20 minutes in the warm-up before that game. Dominic Solanke didn't know the ball was coming and did it within half a second.
Wow, Higuita slander right there. Wow.
The whistle hadn't blown, unlike the Higuita one, which everyone refuses to mention that part.
True.
That the game was stopped. But still, great. I look at it as a half scorpion kick, like a half volley.
I mean,
The
scorpions
Solanke
only
one.
have one
I
tail,
don't know why
right?
both of you had to fire off Higuita slander before answering the question. I'm not sure why that was important.
Yeah, I
Graham
don't know
Ruthven,
either.
how are you, Graham?
He's one of my icons in life,
Sure he
frankly. Included him in the newsletter this week.
Yeah.
They in Atletico Nacional played Inter Miami, and he was at the game, and him and Messi met, and that was a lovely picture to have. I enjoyed it a lot.
He's had a colourful life, Rene Higuita.
Is that how you're referring to the kidnapping incarceration as colorful?
Yeah,
Wasn't he in a reality show where he drastically changed his appearance as well? With
That just mean he straightened his hair and cut the mullet, that's all. And I do think the kidnapping thing was, like, not quite as bad as it sounds, which is an odd way to begin the show by defending a person incarcerated for kidnapping. But anyway.
Joe Lowery, hello. Would you like to put us back on the rails?
I'm just still thinking about the scorpion kick division that Taylor started. As a desert dweller surrounded by a lot of scorpions, I will tell you that the stings all hurt. So I think scorpion kicks should all count the same because all the stings seem to feel pretty just horrible equally. So except the little ones. The little ones hurt more than the big ones. So maybe the smaller scorpion kicker is better. I don't know. Don't feel great about that.
why are you getting
it
stung
real?
by scorpions?
Yeah.
Because they sting you. What do you mean? What does that
As
mean?
like a kid's, or like I just feel like they'd be easy to avoid being stung by.
Are you, as you walk, Graham, are you always staring at the ground, or how do you walk around?
I mean, yes, Charlie Brown over here.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
I
if you're
would be
not
if I
Charlie
had-
Browning it. Yeah,
If I had
not.
scorpions all over the place trying to sting me, yeah, I'd probably look at the ground a little bit more. So is it true that the little ones like sting worse? Because I feel like that's the thing we hear about snakes over here, and then that's been
Right.
debunked, I think.
I mean, I don't think it's been debunked yet with scorpions. I mean, I really don't know. I've been stung once, and it was an adult. But the thinking is the baby ones don't know how to control the venom very well, so they give you more of it.
Okay.
I don't really know if that's true or not, and I like to keep it that way. But it seems realistic. I'm going to believe that. Speaking of little ones, Ryan, I just saw the Adama Traore, João Pedro moment that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
That is the ultimate think before you act moment from João Pedro, or the example is why you should. The fear in that man's eyes as Adama Traore gets up and starts coming towards him. Unbelievable cinema. We had a flare attack on the field in the Serie A. There was so much attacking happening in this weekend's action. I was entranced, folks.
The best bit about the Adama Traore João Pedro beef was Cucurella just getting thrown out the way.
Like a ragdoll.
Completely horizontal.
Joe, what would you rather be faced with, a tiny scorpion or an Adama Traore that was angry with you?
I can outrun the tiny scorpion. I can't outrun the Adama Traore. So there's
Correct
your
answer. Very good. All right, let's get to some soccer after I tell you about patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. It's the best way to support us. You'll get bonus episodes, bonus video content, and access to our Discord server. Come and join in the fun on there and support us. Thank you very much. All of the weekend we don't fit into this weekend review goes on Weekend Review Extra. Lots of Premier League games and much more on there. So do join us there, please and a thank you. Let's go to the Premier League, shall we? Why don't we start off at Anfield? Liverpool 4, Newcastle 1. The aforementioned Hugo Ekitike scoring 2 pretty clinical goals in this one for Liverpool. Florian Wirtz and Ibrahim Konate with the others. Florian Wirtz with a great one-touch finish from a nice Mo Salah assist as well in this one after Anthony Gordon opened the scoring. Graham, an entertaining game this was. And I was worried we jinxed it because I mentioned in the weekend that this is a traditionally entertaining fixture in Premier League history, and it delivered.
Yeah, I think there's some sort of record, like there's been one goalless draw between these two teams going back to 1995, which is why Sky always pick it as one of their TV games over the weekend. And yeah, it was an entertaining game, obviously more entertaining for Liverpool, who registered their first league win of 2026. Their first in 6 games in the league, which sort of highlights the lack of consistency they've had recently outside of their Champions League performances, which have generally been very impressive. And the first 30 minutes of this game seemed to be following that negative trend because Newcastle started really well in this game. I thought it was an interesting setup by Newcastle. So basically Eddie Howe used Anthony Gordon, who has real beef with Liverpool. He got sent off for hacking down Virgil van Dijk in the first game of the season. He hacks down Alisson Becker in this game as well. Not entirely sure where that beef comes from because he's a boyhood Liverpool fan who was in their youth academy. But anyway, he was up for it. Newcastle were up for it from the beginning. It was Gordon and Harvey Barnes as like the front two forwards, and then Voltemada and Vissa on the bench. And initially that gave Liverpool real issues with the speed of the attacks that were coming at them. But the response by Liverpool to falling behind was really, really impressive. I thought they pushed higher up the pitch, right on top of Newcastle. They were excellent in transition. It kind of reminded me actually of Klopp's Liverpool at their best. This is the best I think I've seen Liverpool play in the Premier League in the attack anyway, probably all season. I want to say my piece on Ekitike and Wirtz later because both of them are just so much fun to watch. But yes, plenty for Liverpool to be positive about here.
Definitely so. Taylor, full disclosure for me here, we were snowed in this weekend, so I decided to start day drinking while this game was on. But I think I had a pretty good grasp.
That's why. Sure.
Yeah.
What's the reason for all the other times? Just cuz? All right.
This
Not being snowed in on those ones. Taylor.
This one I felt brave enough to say it on a podcast. But I felt like Newcastle certainly started very strong. Mm-hmm. As Graham mentioned, England's Harvey Barnes hitting the post with that free kick early on, and they just seemed to keep breaking. And it seemed like this game very much turned in Liverpool's favour, obviously. But Newcastle were pretty strong from the outset.
Yeah, I'm really confused by Newcastle from this game because it's a strange situation in which I think their tactics worked really well and were really effective. And you look at who they started and maybe more importantly who they didn't start. And I give credit to Eddie Howe for putting out a team that was really effective in applying high press and making Liverpool go long when they didn't really want to and kind of playing aimless balls, I think, for the first 20 minutes or so, just because they came under such intense pressure. And then Newcastle themselves were really effective and efficient in the way they would move the ball forward. To say they went direct, I think sometimes implies that they were just going long down the channels or something. But it was just a very incisive way that they would move the ball very quickly and try to get into attacking positions very fast. But after about 20 minutes, I found myself wondering, how do they sustain this? Because there's no real rest period there. There's no way that Newcastle can then really control the game. It sort of invites Liverpool to start figuring it out, start having more of the ball, which is maybe the idea that they don't want the ball. If we give them the ball, they won't be able to create. But this particular Liverpool team feel like they have plenty of talent to be able to create on an individual level and a team-wide level. And so as the game goes on, it felt like those tactics which worked didn't really have a secondary plan after we've got the lead, keep going, I guess. And I think that left them exposed and open. And you look at some of the ways in which Liverpool scored, especially that second goal, when it's basically Trippier biting on a run wide, other people biting on other runs, and it just opens up this gigantic channel. Yeah. It felt like Liverpool found ways to exploit what Newcastle were doing pretty quickly, and once they did, Newcastle did not have an answer for it.
Yeah, there reached a point in this game where Liverpool's quality just outshined Newcastle's. Or that's sort of what it seemed to me. That second goal, Taylor, is maybe the turning point in this game. Newcastle were just way too open, and I don't think they could settle the game back down and constrict some of the space that Liverpool had to attack into, even though the game was at 1-1 at that point, and it had just been seconds really after Ekitike had equalized it to make it 1-1. But Newcastle were just way too stretched in this game. And they were trying to be aggressive in moments. They sat a little bit deeper in a 4-5-1 in other moments. But Liverpool's quality won the day. At least it seemed that way to me. And Liverpool have been such a bizarre team this season. Really, everything they've done has been bizarre. You think about the summer transfer window stuff, weird, right? And we talked about that at the time. You think about how good they've looked at times this year and how bad they've looked at times this year. This is the first Premier League game since their really, really disappointing performance, I thought, against Bournemouth, which is probably the worst I've seen them play all season long. And now they're back, and I think maybe the last 60 minutes or so of this game, maybe 50 minutes, was the best we've seen from them all season long. I mean, I completely agree with Graham with the terror that this attacking trio of Ekitike through the middle, although he drifts left quite a bit, Gakpo on that left side, and Salah on the right with Wirtz underneath if we want to make it a quartet. The threat that those players posed in this game, I mean, Ekitike in particular, I'm not going to steal Graham's thunder, although I have waxed poetic about Ekitike plenty this year.
Yeah, Joe, I think it was you and me who've been saying he's good. Graham said he was bad.
Graham was like, I'm not so sure. He definitely doesn't play like Thierry Henry, or I don't know. I can't remember exactly what Graham's been saying. But Ekitike just manhandled this Newcastle backline, both in terms of his speed, but also his physicality. And it's a rare combo. This Liverpool attack was unstoppable in this game. I don't think I've seen them play as well as they did. Yeah. Credit to them for that. Credit to Szoboszlai, who has gone from playing as like one of the number 10s or one of the line leaders to going back to playing right back for the second time all season and basically possessed as a right-sided center back in this entire game. There's a lot of flexibility for this team. The double pivot was excellent. I mean, everybody played well. The Konate goal was great. And the moment that he scores that goal, not long after his father had passed away, and it was a beautiful moment. That was probably my favorite moment of the weekend. It was really, really special. He came back into the team early by his own desire, according to Arne Slot, that he wanted to come and help the team against Newcastle. He was originally not planning on being able to play in this game. He comes back early because of some of the injury issues, and it was just a sweet moment. But Liverpool, in general, as a unit in this game, I thought were excellent for most of it, even if they started a little slow.
I'd be curious what you all think of Mohamed Salah's performance, because that's the only thing that I would say was a bit of a confusing / negative for me. I thought he had an awful first half, like a straight up awful first half. It felt like a quicksand performance in that he starts making the wrong decisions, and then he keeps making the wrong decisions, and then at certain points he can't even like complete passes or like carry the ball forward. It felt like a player who was just kind of bereft of confidence. And I think the second half is so important, and him getting the assist was really good in terms of like getting him involved in the goals, getting him on the score sheet in that way. But that first half, I really was like, is he a problem? Like, do they need to maybe give him more bench opportunities? But that's going to create issues unto itself. I was just struck by how inefficient he looked on the ball and how often his teammates looked very frustrated with his decision making.
Yeah, I agree, Taylor. I think you have him in the team for the balance of that front line, because otherwise I'm not entirely sure who's playing on that right side, and it's beneficial to have that balance to then get the best out of Wirtz and Ekitike, who right now are probably the best attacking pairing in the Premier League. Like, I love how individually they're improving, but also as a pairing, they're very much now on the same wavelength. I think they've combined for more goals than any other two players in the Premier League this season. But Salah at the top level, it's going to take a lot for me to change my mind that at this level, he's done. He's washed. Like, that doesn't mean he's not going to contribute somewhere else. Like, I don't know what his future holds, like MLS or there's been a lot of smoke about the Saudi Arabian move, but I don't know, like Serie A, La Liga, he could go somewhere else and be successful. But in the Premier League, for this Liverpool team, I don't think he's contributing regularly enough. I think the drop-off has been pretty dramatic. And so the situation that arose before AFCON, I don't think has disappeared. I just think the can has one way or another been kicked down the road, and it will come to a head at the end of the season. I would put money on him leaving at the end of the campaign, and that's probably best for all parties.
And that is why I think in the end this result is so important for Liverpool in what they hope to accomplish this season, because if you don't come back and you finish 1-0 down or 2-1 loss or something like that, those issues come back to the forefront. And I think Salah is there. Curtis Jones is mentioned a couple times in the broadcast as we're not sure what his future is going to be. Maybe he wants to move, maybe he doesn't. And there were just moments of discontent that I think would have been magnified. And instead, I think this is like a critical performance for Liverpool in what they're going to do this season. It felt like everything clicked, and Ekitike was excellent. Wirtz, I agree, was electric and so involved in so many different ways. You get the Konate goal. You get just like players having solid performances. Like even the Kirkes ball, it's that 70-yard ball that plays in Ekitike for the second goal. Like he is contributing in the attack. It just felt like this team clicked. Allison made really big saves when he needed to and had some really strong moments. And I think this might be a result that we end up looking back on as being critical in Liverpool's season from here on out.
Just going back to Florian Wirtz very quickly, the narrative about him being a flop, which was a narrative at the start of the season, is completely dead now. And I kind of pushed back against it a little bit earlier in the season, while also accepting that his output wasn't at the level that Liverpool would have expected from him. I think he's got, 9 goal contributions in his last 11 games? Watching this performance, him and Ekitike in the attack are the main men for Liverpool. Those are the two players that they're building around. I was having a bit of fun in Blue Sky on trying to compare both Ekitike and Wirtz to kind of classic Premier League like Barclays. Arsenal fans didn't like the Thierry Henry comparison with Ekitike. Maybe Fernando Torres is a little bit better. Wirtz is like where it does work with Henry is it's like Bergkamp and Henry together, like Wirtz and Ekitike for me. Like the second goal in this game is peak Thierry Henry. The way that he just brushes past the defender and then takes the finish really early. I understand that Henry's quintessential finish was more like the instep, but nonetheless, watching these two players right now is just a whole lot of fun, and I look forward to Liverpool games purely for that reason.
Yeah, they're so chaotic, this Liverpool team. You don't really know what you're going to get at this stage. I am wondering if they're inching towards something, right? I mean, the Frimpong injury was not anybody's idea of a favorable outcome. But having Szoboszlai at right back seems to be the solution because there aren't really any other options at this stage, or at least no other options that Arne Slot seems to be all that thrilled about. I almost wonder if he's been forced into finding this primary personnel grouping. McAllister and Gravenberch are locked in as a double pivot. The Konate, Van Dijk center back pairing. Kirkes makes sense at left back when you have a more stay-at-home presence on the right, so I think that fits well. And then you have the attacking group that I think is pretty much going to be what it is, at least until Isak works his way back. But even when he does, I don't think he's necessarily breaking into the starting group on a regular basis, which is a wild thing to say. It does make me think of Liverpool have found a little something to work their way up back into the Champions League spots, which sort of seems like it needs to be the goal for this team because obviously they're not going to win the title. On Ekitike, just very, very briefly, and I know we've talked about him a lot already in this segment, where does he rank for you guys? I know this is maybe a classic BR sort of question to ask. Where does he rank for you guys in terms of best players in the Premier League? Because I have a number in my head. Like the players that I think are truly the greatest and have the biggest impact on winning games. I have a number in my head, and I'm curious where you all would place him in that list. Graham, maybe since you're an expert in this sort of thing, you can go first.
Right now, this season we're talking about.
Yeah, right. This present moment, February 2nd.
Easy top 5, probably top 3 is where I would put him. I'd have to think about the order of that top 3.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. Taylor, do you disagree with that?
No, I think that's about it.
Ryan, in your drunken stupor, do you have any thoughts?
Sure.
Who are the ones who might be ahead of him? Off the top of my head, like
Holland.
I don't know. I've got my
Graham,
I don't want to go back to that.
So it's fine.
Bruno Fernandes is up there.
Rodri's still up there for me.
Maybe Wirtz is up there as well, based on this and
Declan Rice,
the recent sample size.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in the right ballpark, right? Which is just a testament to Liverpool in at least doing something right this summer because they did a lot of things wrong, I think, this summer. But Ekitike is a transformative player, and eventually, when the pieces around him are there, and I agree. I mentioned that attacking quartet and how much fun it was in this game. Salah was the most anonymous of that group, even though he does pick up an assist in this game. He was the worst of that group. I agree that he's going to be out the door at some point before too long, even if it seems like things have abated for now. I mean, when the pieces are around Ekitike, this team is going to be filthy.
The only other major negative thing that I need to spotlight when it comes to Mohamed Salah is that the commentary team, when that goal happened, called that the Mo-Flow connection, and I just need that to never happen again.
Yeah, it's not great.
Sold.
No flow, no problems for you?
Ugh. I don't know why. I really was I stopped and had a visceral huh? In the same way that when I saw Graham's note about Thierry Henry, I really was like, oh my goodness, that is high praise.
You and Arsenal fans on my Blue Sky over the weekend.
Oh yeah, did they not love that?
They just didn't seem to grasp. I wasn't saying he's as good as Thierry Henry, just reminiscent of watching him.
Yeah.
Did we forget to include Benjamin Šeško in the top 5 players in the league? Or?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait your turn.
There's a few. Not from the commentary from this weekend, Taylor, but I found it slightly jarring that NBC, I presume with the Olympics coming up, have just given up doing a broadcast product. So they just had the back room of Sky Sports they were just using, it seemed, for this past weekend, which was... Interesting, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, they in the same way that, like, if you go to Peacock, they have, like, all of the events laid out as though, like, I was like, are the Olympics happening? Did I miss this? And it's just like, nope, they've just got everything ready to go. And maybe other sports are getting a backseat for a little bit.
That was it. When Man United 3, Fulham 2 ended in incredibly dramatic fashion, I was like, I can't wait to hear the analysis. Oh, your coverage has concluded. Okay, cool.
Skiing.
I forget you guys care about the Olympics. That's always fun.
Don't include me in that, Graham.
I was.
You're a loser like me.
Yeah, who likes tennis? I'm one of the weird ones. I'll acknowledge
Olympic
I'm one of the
sport?
weird ones who was raised on Winter Olympics. That's like, I feel like that is the extreme minority of Olympic fans. It is like 90% of people I think care about the summer, and then 10% are like moguls, biathlon.
Taylor, don't worry.
This
We've got. I believe we have Winter Olympic chat coming up on the Patreon this week if I have my way. Anyway,
go.
we have some Winter Olympic convo in the Discord that I think we need to address.
There was a very funny Saturday Night Live sketch this weekend from like an NBC Winter Olympics promo, and it was based around the luge being like, I'm just the correct body weight. That's all I am. I don't really like doing this, which is very funny. That was Liverpool's game at Anfield. A win for them puts them in 6th, Newcastle in 10th. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go and look at that Man United game. Man City dropping points at Tottenham and much more. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Let's go to North London, shall we? Tottenham 2, Manchester City 2. Dominic Solanke, as noted, producing, I'm going to call it a push-cash nominee. That's the level I thought that goal was at. We can have a chat about that. Spurs also fighting back from 2 goals down. They were looking pretty dead and buried in this one, I would suggest, when they were 2-0 down. City in total control of the first half of this one. Ryan Cherki and Antoine Semenyo with their goals, pretty much just spinning the ball on their finger, figuratively speaking, it seemed, for large periods of that first half. And then, Graham, Tottenham came back dramatically.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure how they managed to do it.
Correct.
Just to quickly recap that first half, because it was a complete stroll. And I mean stroll. Like, there were moments of the first half, it was at walking pace for Manchester City. Gary Neville said in commentary here in the UK that Spurs were playing like it was Soccer Aid. And I kind of understood what he meant. Like, everything about Tottenham's performance was so low energy. And I should mention their injury list is ridiculous at the moment. They lost 3 more players for this game. Mickey van de Ven, Jed Spence, and there's one other that I've forgotten off the top of my head. They had 11 first-team players unavailable for this match. So that's obviously going to have a big impact. But even still, the atmosphere inside the stadium sounded really low energy as well. The match director kept on showing Spurs fans just like, you know, leaning on their hands, and as I'm showing on to YouTube viewers right now, it was as if nobody actually believed there was any prospect of Spurs getting a result from this game, including the Spurs players. Like when Semenyo scores that second goal, he does the flip celebration and messes it up. He botches it. And he falls on his backside. The Spurs fans go, way! Like, they're just not engaged at all in the game that's actually happening. There was no anger. It was just complete apathy from the Spurs fans at that point. And City finished the first half with 68% possession. And yet somehow, I mean, Frank did make some changes. Thomas Frank, he took off Romero. They went to a back 4 of Archie Gray, Palhinha, Dragusin and Udogie. That allowed, I guess, Spurs to match up better against the City forward line. It pushed Sarr into central midfield. He became someone who could apply some pressure on City in the ball. And I thought they were a lot better in possession in the second half. I thought in the first half, they were going too direct too quickly. And that ended up with that led to like a massive disconnect between the front and the back of the Spurs team, which you can see for is it the first or second City goal? I can't quite remember, but the Spurs are down in the left corner. They make a clearance, and there's not a Spurs player for like 40 yards within that clearance, and City just pick it off and score the second goal. So they were making that extra pass, and that got them higher up the pitch. And I thought Xavi Simons took a grip of the game. Solanke started getting involved, as obviously demonstrated by his 2 goals. But even still, I'm not entirely sure how Spurs went from that in the first half to getting something from this game in the second half. And I kind of point the finger at City for their second half performance, where it felt like they also took their foot off the gas, where it was so comfortable in the first half that they kind of got complacent and thought it would be a stroll after the break as well.
When you see that on the first goal that Tottenham score in the second half, City are just scrambled in the recovery of a long throw. So it's a long throw from Tottenham, and then they sort of recycle possession Tottenham after they don't create a real chance off of the initial throw. And City's back line is scrambled. The offside line is crooked, and they don't even have their personnel right in the back four in that particular moment. I think that is the real turning point in this game, to be totally honest, because it's that moment of sloppiness in the aftermath of a set piece, what is effectively a set piece nowadays with those long throw-ins, that kind of puts Tottenham back in the game and gives them a little bit of energy. Now, I'm not necessarily of the belief that we need to over-index on this sort of result. Like this is a huge problem for City as it relates to the title race. Don't get me wrong about that. But I don't think that this was unheard of as a soccer mistake or a soccer comeback. Like, it didn't strike me as being totally bizarre. But City, no doubt, when you look at the general context of where they are on the table right now, they should be kicking themselves in this game, because I believe that it was on them that this result changed, rather than like Frank's halftime shapeshift had some impact, but it didn't seem to me that was the thing that changed this game around. I think it was City getting a little bit sloppy.
There's a chance that this is like my bias in thinking that Pep is the best manager in the world. So owning that. But like, if this is any other manager, I think the halftime talk is they're not going to beat us. It's almost a lads it's Tottenham halftime talk of like, they're only going to beat us if we make individual mistakes, if we let them beat us. Let's just play smart. Let's play our game. Let's not give them opportunities. And I think some teams can hear that as kind of sit off and don't get caught out or don't put yourself in vulnerable positions. But in a lot of times, sitting off or just being a little bit more passive can invite the opposition onto you. And I think Graham has outlined really well that change to 4-4-2 seems to have given Spurs just a lot more organization and grit and ability to press higher up and cause problems higher up. But I agree. I think City also made their own lives hard in this one, because Spurs were just awful in the first half. That's my second awful of the show. That Dragusin especially coming back in. I have so much sympathy for him coming back in after a year out and this being the game he's thrown into. But he was all over the place in that first half. And it's the giveaway that Graham already outlined. It's diving in on stuff. He is the one where he comes flying in, and then I think it's Cherokee is just like, nope, and cuts right past him. And he goes in frame and then out of frame very fast. Like, you could just see Spurs really struggling to hold on, really struggling to find a way to even kind of get some level of grip on this game, which is amazing that they have the turnaround they do. And it's amazing that they have that turnaround without Romero on the pitch, which I don't think was injury. So I don't know if maybe at halftime he had some words or he just wasn't feeling it or whatever it was, but that's an odd one for me.
That was the rumour that's not been, I must stress, not been substantiated. I've not seen it reported anywhere, but it was rumoured that he kind of blew up at halftime, and that was the reason why he came off. So he's the only one who's been scoring goals for Spurs recently, so I don't know how that works for them in the medium to long term.
Solanke has, and then went off with injury, so hopefully that's not too bad for him and Tottenham. I have two more questions about this game. The first, the goal, the first goal, the Solanke goal, sort of. I think in the past that would have been called back through VAR, because for people who haven't seen it, it's essentially Solanke going to kick the ball. Mark Gay gets there first, and so as Solanke kicks, he basically kicks into Gay and then also kicks the ball. And even if he didn't know Gay was there, if he didn't know that there was going to be that play made, he's still kicking the defender before he kicks the ball. I'm assuming that has been a change in the way they're using VAR or the way they're looking at things, because it was very obvious on the replay. Are we all good that one goes the way it does? Because I think I am.
It's a
I think
foul.
I'm just confused. Okay, Graham says foul.
I am normally of the let it stand crowd. Like, contact in the box doesn't always equal a penalty. But if that's the other way round, and look, it's hypothetical, so I guess we'll never truly know. But I just feel if that's the other way round and it's a defender kicking through a forward, we always see that given as a penalty, right? Like, we've seen that so many times before. So I can understand why City were aggrieved at that.
It'd be
Goals
amazing
are good.
if VAR
Let
was
it
like,
stand.
it doesn't matter. They're not going to score another one, so who cares? It's just a fluke, and then things change.
I like how they gave it. Sorry, Taylor. I like how they gave it to Solanke, despite the fact it's Gay's touch. Yes, it was definitely Solanke who kicked that into the back of the net. What did you see?
And my other question is, like, I don't understand what is a foul on Erling Haaland anymore, because he is so big that it's that sort of like when the big guy runs through and the little guy bounces off of him. Even if the little guy like threw himself at the bigger guy, it's gonna be like, yeah, but the big guy hit him, so it's a foul. Like for a couple different corners, he is being bear hugged at one point by two different Spurs players. Just fully have him in a bear hug, and he gets, I would say, thrown to the ground. I mean, I think he definitely like allows himself to be thrown at a certain point. And then the commentators are basically like, yeah, but it's Holland, and they let go at a point, so it's fine. And it's like, is it fine? I don't know how that works, but I guess there's just been sort of a feeling of he's enormous. You got to do what you got to do. It's a corner, so it's a free for all. Oh well.
Yeah, because Holland wanted that penalty late on that could have potentially, I suppose, made it 3-2. And I think the Premier League rules are if it's not in he's directly in the phase of play, you could do whatever the heck you want to him in the box. That seems to be it.
It's the Gladiator Commodus rule, like just stab him before the corner's taken, and then he's bleeding and can't deal with it, but it happened before the corner, so it's fine. Like, is that how we're officiating things now? Because I kind of am into it.
We need Adama Traore versus Haaland for science, of course.
Wow. I would pay-per-view that one any day of the week. Excellent stuff. There we go. Tottenham 2, Man City 2. Old Trafford we go to now. Man United 3, Fulham 2. The Man United revival continues. 3 wins out of 3 for Michael Carrick now. And top 5 player in the Premier League, Benjamin Sesko, with the 94th minute winner in this one. Not long after Kevin... I just love a soccer player called Kevin, by the way. Incredible stoppage time equaliser for Fulham as well. And I suppose in United, it must have been delirium in Old Trafford when that goal went in after the stoppage time equaliser from Fulham as well. Not a resounding win. I would call it more of a got away with it win and also bottled a 2-0 lead. But hey, 3 points are 3 points.
Is that your objective opinion or notable Manchester United hater Ryan Bailey's opinion? Just out of curiosity.
We are one and the same.
There it is. I was watching this game on delay, and I saw Graham's message in the Slack first about Catherine O'Hara passing away, which is a tragedy, but then it feeling appropriate that Kevin scored. And I think as I saw that, I looked at the screen to see Kevin subbing on and said, oh no, this is going to be frustrating for me. So I'm glad it went the way it did. And I, in the end, though, think in some ways this is the most impressive result of the 3 so far, which is probably like a hipster take, and I don't mean for it to be, but this is a game that I think they absolutely lose under Ruben Amorim, and they lose even if they had gone ahead 2-0, because once they kind of concede that first and concede that second, I think under Amorim there was just more panic. There was much more, okay, let's just see out the result. We don't want to lose all 3 points here. At least we can keep the 1, and I don't feel like we saw that sort of inspired fight back and that just belief. And I do think it's an individual thing here. I think it's Bruno Fernandes making something from nothing with like the self dummy and then run in behind to set up Šeško. But it's still a fight back and it's still a response, and that has been severely lacking for Manchester United for a large chunk of this season. So yes, a lot closer than I wanted it to be, but I also thought this was going to be a frustrating loss. So in the end, I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, in terms of the performance, it was probably, for me, and it was probably the loosest performance of the 3 games that United have played under Carrick, because you could see there were moments where they were stuck between 2 different approaches. Like, they didn't really know whether to stand off or whether to press, and it wasn't quite as coherent as it was against Arsenal and City. And I thought, particularly when Casemiro came off in the second half, Fulham had so much joy in playing through Manchester United. So I understand where you're coming from, Ryan, in that sense. But it still feels like this Manchester United team they're set up in a way that is getting more out of their best individuals, is how I would word it. Because that forward line right now, this was a game that put Manchester United into, they're now the 4th highest scoring team in the Premier League. And this is why, not to give myself too much credit, but when we were talking about Amorim a few weeks ago, and I felt like I was maybe the sole defender of Jason Wilcox and a lot of the business that Manchester United had done in the transfer window, it's quite clear now that they have seriously upgraded that forward line. Like Cunha, Mbeumo, Šeško, who I have reservations about, but it's still clearly a better player than what they had. He's a better player than Rasmus Højlund is. We're starting to see some green shoots of progress from him. They're getting more from players like Amad Diallo, and their fullbacks are contributing as well, and that midfield balance is a lot better. Bruno Fernandes, I think, is much better as like a natural 10 with freedom.
New signing Kobe Mainu has been really important.
Yeah,
it's been a big signing in January.
I don't know how complex this is, what Manchester United are doing right now, but it feels like they are playing to their level more than they were previously. And yes, it's 3 games, and I await it all falling around their ears as it normally does. But I've had a lot of fun watching this Manchester United team in these last few games. And for me as a neutral, that is not something I was saying about Ruben Amorim's team. So in that sense, there has definitely been, I think, some meaningful progress. It's about how they sustain it from this point on.
Yeah, well, on that sustainability, I think I mentioned this last week, like the next 4 fixtures for Man United are Dr. Tottenham, West Ham, Everton and Palace. I felt like this Fulham game was the biggest test for this Carrick team to overcome, because there's a fairly clear run for the next 4 games. Is that fair to say, Taylor? No,
This is a reverse
saying
jinx.
no.
I know what you're doing. And I'm not letting it. Absolutely not. No, all of those can be bogey teams, and I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but I am just pleased to see the fight back and the response, and honestly, that some of these guys seem to be playing with joy again. Like, I am guessing, as I've said before, that team under Emery was very much, you have to play here, you have to pass this way. It's basically like the worst idea of what soccer coaching is meant to be. And I think what we're seeing now is Joe's point that, like, to be overly brief and summary of just that, like, coaching matters, but maybe not as much as we think it does. And I think on some level there is you all are professionals, here are the tactics, you know how to execute, and ultimately a manager's job is to kind of back the players and get them to have that belief in themselves. And I think put them in better positions. I think Bruno being basically part of a front two in this game is where he wants to be, not a deep-lying midfielder. Casemiro, like, playing between the lines and doing a kind of defensive patrolling job, but still being able to range forward and get involved in the attack is what he wants to do. When you sort of shackle them a little bit and make them do a bunch more things while still asking them to do the original things you were asking them to do, I think you can just see the wheels turning, the Mac wheel spinning, trying to process everything, and I think things slow down accordingly. So to see them have just more fluidity and fluency in the way they're attacking is, if nothing else, they are just enjoyable, to Graham's initial point. And I think for a team that has not been enjoyable to watch for a neutral or a supporter in quite some time, it's fun times. It was also interesting to see Diego Dalot, like, staying home in the back three and Luke Shaw being the one to get forward. That felt like a new wrinkle that we haven't seen a ton of, but it allowed Dalot to pick his spots more. And so I felt like there was also some experimentation and tactical flexibility in here, which is why I think Joe specifically said Carrick's at the wheel and give him all the money he wants and what could possibly
Correct.
go wrong.
Yeah, and I said we should lead with this game. Taylor said, no, we can't. We've done it too much. We need to put it in segment 2. Bold, Taylor. I was against it, but I think you made the right call.
Thank you, Joe. I will say, like, and then I will try to be quiet about this one. It is genuinely, like, a nice thing that Casemiro is having the season he is having. I think this is his top scoring season in the Premier League now. And if you told me, like, 3 months ago that he announced that he was leaving and that was it for him at the end of this season, I would have been like, that's a shame. Like, that's a shame that he comes here with the profile he has, the success he had at Real Madrid, and the club is just so dysfunctional that he leaves without ever really getting to see a team that's, like, fun and enjoyable, or ever really getting to be, like, a part of that. And to really, I think, be enjoyed by the Old Trafford supporters instead of being perceived as a problem or of, like, an overpaid player who doesn't really fit anywhere. And now I think he is a critical player. And now I find myself being really sad that he is leaving and sort of hopeful that they'll find a way to keep him, even with his ridiculous contract. And it's fun to see a player who I think at points in his career has been truly world-class rediscover some of that form and remind everybody why he is who he is.
Yeah, we all thought you had to leave Manchester United to get
Yes,
better.
exactly.
In fact, you just have to say you are going to leave and you'll get better.
There we go.
Hurtful but true.
5-time Champions League winner is talented. There's the headline.
Dude, did you think he was talented last season? Did everybody, because everybody did, think they're paying a lot of money for a guy that maybe Real Madrid knew was past it and isn't that good anymore? And so to see him just, like, smiling and enjoying it, and, like, he and Mateus Cunha seem
Growing
to
hair.
be, they are, like, best friends now. They, like, hold each other in their hugs for, like, lengthy
Yeah, I
periods
saw
of
that as
time.
well.
It's like on the bench they were hugging, like, yes, we are one. And it was nice. It makes me happy. I like that level of connectivity between teammates.
I
Sorry
also
that
really-
Ryan is a hater of hugs and love and emotion.
Also, Cunha's celebration is one of the best. Is that a new thing, or have I just noticed that the surfing celebration?
surfing
Yeah,
thing?
I really like that
It's pretty
celebration.
good.
It's good.
It's pretty good.
I have to admit, I do love those Man United training tops they come out in with the Stone Roses motif on them as well. Very good. Very
Do
good.
you think they were
I'm waiting
holding
for
them
the
back
insult.
until they were half decent?
Yeah.
They've actually had them in the locker for
'Cause
the last
they are-
13 years.
Yeah, they are the resurrection now, Graham, so they can finally do the Stone Roses thing. There you go. Boom, boom. Man United 3, Fulham 2. A couple more games to look at from the Premier League. How about Chelsea 3, West Ham 2? Chelsea coming back from 2 goals down in this one. Enzo with the 92nd minute winner. We got 5 goals. We got a massive fight at the end with Adama throwing people around like ragdolls, as established. West Ham finishing with 10 men.
And Liam Rosinho with 5 straight wins in all competitions. Chelsea are going great guns, Graham.
Yeah, 2 comebacks, in a week for Chelsea as well after the Napoli game. And they certainly needed a comeback here because they were absolutely, this seems to have been a common theme for a lot of teams on this weekend review. They were dreadful in the first half. I thought, in particular, Alejandro Garnacho had maybe the worst 45 minutes I have seen from an elite level player for a big club in a long time. There's one clip that, and I watched this game live, so I watched the full 45 minutes, but there's one clip that's gone viral of where he gives away the ball 3 times in, I believe, 8 seconds. So that gives you an idea of what kind of performance it was from Alejandro Garnacho. He is hooked at half-time. Chelsea are booed off at half-time by their own fans. And then Rosinho, he makes 3 changes at the break. So it's Fofana, Cucurella and João Pedro who all came on. And that seemed to make a big difference. I thought Chelsea were a lot better in the second half. Rosinho, he changed out the entire left wing by replacing Hato and Garnacho with Cucurella and Pedro. I thought that shored up that side because Bowen was having a field day in the first half. I thought Chelsea were just much more capable of imposing their own game, getting bodies into the box more often. That then led to the goals when Chelsea had more of a penalty box presence than any point of the first half. So ultimately, I thought they did deserve it with how strongly they responded in the second half. Obviously, a painful one for West Ham, just to do a very quick beat on them. But they are improving. Like, there's life about West Ham, finally. I do think some of the signings they've made, they've gone into this like 4-4-2 shape with Castellanos and Pablo, who made his debut in this game, as the front two. I think that's made them harder to play through. It's also meant that they have been able to move Bowen out to the wing again, where he's much more effective. So I know they collapsed here. I think some of that was on the changes that Nuno made. They went to a back 5 in this game, which I thought was unnecessary when they were creating so many opportunities. But nonetheless, I am feeling better about West Ham's chances of survival than I was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Very good. Excellent stuff. Graham, I can't stop thinking about what you mentioned about Liam Rosinho, the way he speaks in a recent episode as well. He sounds like an AI assistant when he talks. I can't help but think it now. He's got a slightly odd sort of cadence with the way he... I was watching the post-match here when he's like, I had to make a change. I changed 3 players. That was what made us win.
Siri Rosinho. That's his proper name, I think.
Excellent stuff. Well, he's doing a good job all the same. Leeds 0, Arsenal 4. Arsenal still on top. Madueke coming into the team because Bukayo Saka getting injured in the warm-up and making quite the difference for the Gunners, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, that is the only negative out of this game, is that Saka did pick up that injury. It sounds like just before we started recording, I think there was some reporting that it's maybe not so serious, maybe a couple of weeks out, which is a relief because he's such an important player for Arsenal, but they didn't need him here. Madueke was brilliant. I thought this was a big Arsenal win. We spoke about this on the Weekender episode on Friday, but had this been another negative league result for them, I think it would have been full-on panic modes. Like, the narrative that this is a collapse would have been full scale, and that wasn't what this was at all. This was really, really comprehensive because at no point did it feel like Leeds were a serious factor in the game. I thought the scoreline was pretty reflective of how dominant Arsenal were. One of the keys to the game was Kai Havertz coming back into the lineup, which we've obviously spoken about on the show. Loads of people have spoken about that prospect, but not as the centre forward, as part of the midfield unit in a more sort of advanced role. And I thought that putting him closer to Gyökeres, I thought that helped Victor Gyökeres a little bit. It felt like he wasn't totally isolated, felt like he was maybe involved in the game a little bit more. He scores a really nice goal in this game, Victor Gyökeres. So loads and loads of positives for Arsenal, especially with Manchester City slipping up on the Sunday. And I feel like Arsenal need to start putting away teams a little bit more of this. These are the kind of performances, I've been quite critical of Arsenal in the last few weeks. These are the kind of performances I want to see more of from them down the stretch.
4-goal ones, yeah, not bad at all. Very good.
They're always better than the ones where you don't win or squeak by. That's what I've learned.
That checks out. Checks out. Very good. The rest of the Premier League games you can find on Weekend Review Extra. We take a quick break and we're going to go to the continent. Join us now. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the Weekend Review. We go to Germany now. Hey, Joe, did you hear the one about Bayern not winning a game again? Hamburg 2, Bayern 2. Goodness me, Harry Kane scoring his 36th goal of the season, but Bayern settling for a point. Wow.
Yeah, back-to-back weekends where Bayern have not been at their best. I'm sort of wondering if this team has run out of gas a little bit, right? We've talked a lot about sort of jokingly, oh, well, imagine what they've been with. They've been so good without Musiala and without Davies in this team. Imagine what they'll be when those guys are back. Well, maybe what they'll be when those guys are back or almost back. In the case of Musiala, who comes off the bench in this game, Davies starts this game. Maybe what they'll be is tired. And it kind of looks to me like that's what Bayern Munich is right now. They were maybe mentally tired, or maybe there's some other explanation for some of the mistakes they had in this game. But even just 5 minutes in, there's a sloppy pass from Serge Gnabry in this 2-2 draw with Hamburg. There is a box entry that comes off the back of that, and then a corner kick, and they give up a chance on that corner kick. They give up Hamburg's opener via a penalty kick, where Joshua Kimmich commits the foul inside the box. Luis Diaz has a horrible back pass that gives Fabio Vieira a shot just after Bayern go ahead in the second half. There were good moments, obviously, for Bayern as well. Like, they dazzled. Their second goal was unbelievable. There were a lot of really, really great goals this weekend. This was maybe the best team goal that I saw this weekend, where you have Elise and Gnabry and Diaz combining, and it's Diaz with the finish. It just wasn't good enough for Bayern in this game. The second goal they give up is a little bit more unfortunate than the first. I would say it's a good piece of play from Hamburg, but Alphonso Davies kind of loses his mark, or at least there's not good communication to pick up the runner inside the 18, and it's then 2-2. This is Bayern dropping points in back-to-back weekends. It's probably not going to matter for the title race. But the question that I sort of wondered about this Bayern team, I think I wondered it aloud on the show last week, is, like, could they be one of the great teams that we've seen in recent European history? And these are not the results befitting of a team like that. So this is Bayern in a little bit of a slump, and it certainly showed itself in this game.
And they have Hoffenheim this coming weekend. I'm so excited for that game. Hoffenheim with the best form in Germany right now.
Let's go.
Bayern at home. That would be a talking point.
Juicy,
if
man.
They don't get the win there. I feel like that is Joe can finally start flying his "Is Vincent Kompany a good manager?" flag again. I feel like we've had that one in storage for some time. We can bring that one back, Joe. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm down for that, although I don't honestly have firm opinions on Vincent Kompany. But only 6 points now separate Bayern from Dortmund at the top of the table in the Bundesliga. You could say that in a different way, which is that 6 points still separate Bayern Munich from Borussia Dortmund at the top of the Bundesliga. But this is Bayern just not playing very well. They've been too open in both of the last Bundesliga games. They did an okay job of creating chances. I think it's pretty clear that while I'm still holding some Leonard Karl stock, and he starts as the 10 in this game, he's just not maybe quite ready yet to give them real positive minutes. He can eat up some minutes and be a fine, I think, replacement level player, but he doesn't have the physicality, I think, to give Bayern a little bit of what they need, and I don't think he's quite sharp enough on the ball to be that 10 right now. I think he was a little bit better when he was playing on the right side and maybe in that half space cutting in, but he comes off at halftime, and you get Serge Gnabry moving into the middle, and Luis Diaz comes on the left, and Bayern score within seconds. So I think maybe it's becoming clear what the best group is going to look like for Vincent Kompany, but we didn't see that from the jump in this one.
So I did not watch this game. I watched Dortmund-Heidenheim, and I think that is my mistake. Because if I had not watched Dortmund-Heidenheim, I would just be like, and Dortmund won, and they're putting together results, and it's going to be close. But Dortmund beat Heidenheim 3-2. A much better way to phrase that is Heidenheim beat Heidenheim 3-2, and Dortmund also played. Because Heidenheim missed genuinely 2 open goals. They missed 3 more chances that were like point-blank opportunities, like sort of degree of difficulty headers, but not high degree of difficulty headers. Dortmund were all over the place in this game. You could see even at the end that Niko Kovac looked furious because they absolutely could have and should have lost this game, if not drawn it. And they have to come back. They get a slightly fortunate penalty. It's like the defender's lunging and has his hand out, and there's a little bit of a graze there, so it's a handball. Garassi takes it, but he and Adeyemi are kind of quarreling just before that goal happens. He misses a penalty, Garassi, that would have given him his hat trick. It felt like there was still like disharmony and some infighting in the attack even after they took the lead. And then they were just so wide open and so defensively lax that a better team, and maybe Heidenheim on a different day, would have punished them. So I hope that is an example of like good teams finding a way to win even when it seems like they shouldn't. But I can't shake the feeling that there is just still a lot of vulnerability about this Dortmund team, which is maybe why I'm so hyped for the Heidenheim game this weekend. Or excuse me, Hoffenheim game, not Heidenheim.
They had, I didn't watch this game, so I'm just looking at the FOTMob stats. Heidenheim had 7 big chances in this game, which is
like, and they were all big chances. Like, I cannot stress how many times they had a ball at the back post with the defender there to like get any body part on it, or the attacker there, and they will just bundle it into the goal. And instead, he was like, nope, hitting it as hard as I can and roofing it over the goal and into like maybe out of the stadium. I don't know if some of those shots have landed quite yet. It was insane.
Very good. To Spain, where the top two teams won. We had a pretty spicy Madrid derby. Real Madrid 2, Rayo Vallecano 1, Vini Jr. and Mbappe with a late penalty in that one. Mbappe missing a nice open goal, hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
There was a forgettable moment for him there. Rayo finished with 9 men in this one as well. And the big news, certainly for people of my disposition, was that Jude Bellingham came off injured, a hamstring injury in his left leg in this one. But a win, Graham, for Real.
Yeah, just on the Bellingham injury, he looked really emotional coming off, which kind of suggests it's quite a bad one, or he senses initially that it's a bad one. Obviously, then you fast forward to the World Cup. That's where your mind immediately goes. So I think we're awaiting news on that. That is a potential story that has bigger implications than just what it means for Real Madrid. Real Madrid here, they got out of jail because they were 90 seconds away from a really poor result at home to a Rayo team fighting relegation. I watched this game. Madrid actually started really strongly, even after Bellingham came off with the injury. I thought they created loads of opportunities. I thought Brahim Diaz, who was back in this team, looked more like his old self and not the haunted husk he's been for the last 2 weeks since the AFCON final. And I've always been a big fan of Brahim Diaz, so he was contributing. But then in the second half, it was like the concentration and the effort just completely dropped out of Real Madrid, and Rayo started to pose a threat on the break. They had one golden opportunity in particular when Courtois had to save a one-on-one situation, and it just became so much easier for them to play through and find space. So in the end, Real Madrid's better talent shone through. I saw the Managing Madrid's, which is a Real Madrid blog, their one-line report of this game was, Real Madrid win this game with their better players, but better teams beat Real Madrid's if they play like this again. So I don't know, it doesn't feel like they're moving towards anything meaningful. It just feels like more of the same for Real.
Fit check on Rayo Vallecano, Graham. Those kits with the sort of yellow lightning strike on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rayo always have good kits with that. I guess it's like the lightning sash.
Yeah,
is what you would describe it. The home one obviously being red and white. So yeah, I don't have a Rayo shirt, but maybe I should invest in one of those.
Maybe you should. It's a little bit different. I don't hate it. Elche won Barcelona. Sorry, Taylor.
If it helps, it seems like Bellingham has a hamstring injury, semi-tendinous muscle in his left leg, but it's basically a muscle pull. They expect him out a month or maybe a little bit longer, but you don't need to be too worried.
At least
about
it's
him
not
out of the World Cup.
It's not full tenderness, so that's
let's be thankful for that.
Blessings, indeed. Elche 1, Barcelona 3. Barcelona's 15th win in their last 16 games in all comps here. Rashford getting a goal. Yamal did the assist for that one, Graham, which like the Gareth Bale assist, I think I'd call that, where he sort of was on the byline, kept it in, and dashed down and got the ball in.
Yeah.
It was very impressive.
He can do it all, and this Barcelona team can do it all apart from finish the majority of their opportunities at the moment. So there's two sides to this Barcelona performance, right? The first side is they were brilliant in terms of their overall play between this and their last couple league games against Oviedo and who was the other one? Oh, Real Sociedad, which they lost. I know they lost that game, but we spoke about how well they played in that match. There was a period not so long ago when it felt like Barca had entered a bit of a lull, and I feel like they've fully come out of that lull now because they were utterly dominant in this game. They had so many chances. We talked about Heidenheim having, 7 chances? Barcelona had 13 big chances in this game, which I can't recall seeing that many for a team in a game for a long time. That brings me to the other side, which is Barca were unbelievably wasteful in this game. There were 3 chances inside the 6-yard box, which were right on the verge of should-have-scored territory. Ferran had one chance that somehow hit the bar, and then it rebounds to him, and he's about maybe 3 yards out, and he heads it back, and he then hits the post with that header. So they hit the woodwork 5 times in total in this game, Barcelona, and then typically Elche hit them on the break to equalise. So at that point, they're feeling pretty sorry for themselves, Barcelona. Obviously, they end up winning comfortably. But Hansi Flick must have come out of this game tearing his hair out because, they were very wasteful. This honestly could have been like 6 or 7-1 for Barca.
There you go. There was also the Basque Derby this weekend. Athletic Club drawing 1-1 with Real Sociedad. I suppose getting a point on the back of a disappointing Champions League exit for them is a good thing. We have run out of time on Weekend Review. So if you'd like to hear about Serie A and the rest of the Premier League games, it's Weekend Review Extra for you. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Do join us there. No Serie A on this one, Joe. We spent too much time on Scorpions. Sorry.
I was going to talk about a flare attack. We'll have to talk about it later. Ooh.
We will talk about that on the Weekend Review Extra. Big incident in the Inter game, indeed. Thank you very much, Joe. Joe Lowery, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you very much, Graham Ruthven.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
Thank you, Taylor Rockwell.
My pleasure, thank you.
And thank you very much, listener, for joining us on this one. We'll be back on the feed very shortly indeed. But for now, bye.